So good morning. Welcome to the Honors Choir Intensive at MYAF. My name's Sarah Price. I teach choir at Saline High School in Michigan, and I also help coordinate the MSVMA All-State Choir. But this year, of course, we're doing our Honors Choir Intensive. We're so excited that all of you singers could join us, especially, and we're so happy to have our teachers and audience members here too to be part of this experience. We have 4 incredible musicians and clinicians today ready to share their choral journey with you and offer you great tips and insight into our combined piece, If Music Be the Food of Love. There's just a couple quick orders of business before we get rolling. I just put a couple links in the chat. Just let me know if you need anything else or if you need help with something, you can let us know in the chat. Quick disclaimer that we are going to be recording these sessions today. So by proceeding on, you're agreeing to being recorded audio and video, and we'll post these up on our Whova site so you can watch them later, or I know some of our teachers really want to watch them later on too. Finally, during the second and third sessions today, they are sectionals, but even if it's not your voice part, we still, of course, want you to attend. It's still going to be a wonderful learning experience for you, but feel free to grab your lunch during that time when it's not your singing time and snack on some stuff while you're listening and enjoying, right? And so before I turn it over to Dr. Ferdinand, I just want to remind you about how incredible he is and all the wonderful things he's doing. So Dr. Jason Max Ferdinand is the Director of Choral Activities, Professor and Chair of the Music Department at Oakwood University. He directs the Aeolians of Oakwood University and, as evidenced by noteworthy awards, has distinguished himself on the national and international choral stages. In 2017, he earned the Outstanding Director and Choir of the World Awards at the Llangollen International Musical Festival in Wales. In 2018, his choir won 3 gold medals at the 10th World Choir Games held in South Africa, and also won the competition's overall championship in both the spirituals and university choir categories. The Aeolians made their first appearance at the National Conference of the American Choral Directors Association in 2019, and the term "they broke ACDA" was used to describe their outstanding presentation. Ferdinand holds non-terminal degrees from Oakwood University, Morgan State University, and a doctorate in choral conducting from the University of Maryland. In 2018, he was named Teacher of the Year by Oakwood University. He's a published composer with GIA Publications and is exhilarated about his new choral series with Walton Music. Last fall, Ferdinand also released Teaching with Heart, Tools for Addressing Societal Challenges Through Music, a choral conductor's compendium. In January of 2021, a creative opportunity was asked of Ferdinand, which inspired formation of the Jason Max Ferdinand Singers. With excitement, Ferdinand announced, "It is with gratitude and humility that I bring to you these talented singers who breathe life into the works of outstanding composers as we all move forward in our lives and times." And the ensemble debuted this past March, correct? At the Live from London series. So I'm honored and excited to introduce you to Dr. Ferdinand.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. Those biographies always make me feel very weird. I didn't write it, so keep that in mind. Good morning to everyone, and it's such a pleasure to be with the state of Michigan, even though I'm in Alabama this morning. And it looks like a beautiful day here, and I hope it is where you are as well. I wish I could be with you all day so I could hear the other amazing presentations you have in store. Blake Morgan and I talk a lot, and I'm always fascinated by his concept of tuning and other musical things that we go back and forth on. So my task today, as I understand it, is to really set up the day. And this piece that you'll record today, I honestly got stuck on the very, very first line. If music be the food of love, sing on, sing on, sing on. And don't we all need that message in light of everything we've been through last year plus? So what I want to talk to you about this morning, I know it's early, but try and stay with me. It could be a little heady and a little philosophical, but I truly believe if you take even some of the insights, it may help you to record this piece in a totally different way than if you would just do it without any talk. So before we even start, let me play something for you that kind of resonates, perhaps the same sort of message, and we can go from there. So let me just share the screen really quickly and just take a listen to this. All right, hold on. Now it doesn't want to play. Oh, Give me 1 second. Hold on. One second. Interesting. Doesn't want to play. So let's just keep rolling on. So what I want to talk to you about, I'll fix it as we go. What I want to talk to you about this morning is this thing about being a CEO. Many of you know of some CEOs that perhaps that you admire. The CEO of Tesla was on Saturday Night Live on last week. I don't know if you checked that out, but Bill Gates, and we could go on and on and on. So history, and I'm just talking to you straight from my heart, right? History is filled or is teeming with so many inspiring stories where we're in the midst of a tragedy. Humanity has always risen to levels of heroism that are simply beyond our day-to-day imagination and our day-to-day modes. And this phenomenon, I think, has been in full effect as we've gone through this pandemic. And yes, we've had so many lingering emotions of fear and uncertainty and anguish. But the one thing that we've seen a whole lot of is compassion. Compassion has been on total display during this time of hardship. And I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, in the city of New York in particular, the people would come out at, I think it was 7 p.m. or something, and bang their pots and their pans in tribute to our frontline workers. And that thing brought tears to my eyes. Or what about the people in Italy who would hang their heads out of their windows and come out to their front doors with their violins and sing arias, just in the spirit of showing compassion and cheering each other on. And the reason that stuff happens is because what we do as musicians is a total reflection of society. For some people, when they listen to music, it could be a sobering reminder of calamity. But in contrast to some people, they find consolation in music and they feed their being with the rhythm and the beat of the music. So whenever they feel sad and despondent, they can literally plug into music to help alleviate their sorrow. So the fact that you are in this room today and part of Michigan All-State program tells me that all of you, all of us, are key conduits in making sure that this art form reaches the masses. Now, take a moment, take like 5 seconds and think about the people that have been affected by COVID-19. At this point, all of us probably have been affected in some way. Many people have lost loved ones. That's my 2-year-old knocking on my door. Many have lost loved ones. Our economy right now is in kind of shambles, in a state of flux. There are families that are struggling to put food on the table to eat. And all of this is happening largely in a world devoid of music making as we know it. Hopefully we get there soon. And I think I see signs of that happening. And I think, and pay attention to this, I think that when the pandemic is done, people will be starving for music. And the question that I've been asking myself since last April or May is, are we going to feed them the same menu that we did before the pandemic? Are we just going to do a little Bach here and a little Mozart there and then throw in a spiritual here just to create some excitement? And I think that this formula, this way of thinking, this way of programming would be absolutely tragic. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I sat and I thought to myself, you know what, Jason, this is probably a great moment for you to grow your skills. And probably not my skills so much, grow my thoughts into becoming the best CEO I can be. Everybody says CEO. CEO. Now, follow me because you probably don't know where I'm going. Thank you so much. So this is where I'm going. Each of us connects with music in different ways, right? And our personalities, by and large, dictate how we channel our curiosity. The C here is for curiosity. Some of us in the room care deeply and very quickly about the feelings of other people. Others of us are inquisitive about the mechanics of how this piece is put together. And then there's some of us that care more about the historical context of a musical composition. So as you record this piece today, as you prepare this piece, think about that. Which one am I? Do I look at the theory aspect first? Do I try to get the emotional angle of the piece first? Or am I the type that's going to look up the composer of the music and the person who wrote the text? You fit in one of those three categories by and large, I think. The emotionally driven conductor, and I'll point to myself because I think that's where I always start, seeks to understand the sentiment behind the music. What was the composer going through in his or her life at the time of creation? To what series of events was the piece responding? How can, and probably this is the hard part, how can the emotional framework be reconstructed for performance? So how could I bring Bach with me in 2021? And how can I recreate what he was feeling? That's the tough part. These are all questions that the emotionally driven conductor asks more than not. And then the other type of musician is interested in how the piece is put together. That is to say, they care little about the historical aspects of the piece or the emotional aspects of the piece. And these musicians I found tend to be very, very good, very versed in music theory and knowledge of style. And they recognize very quickly when there are deviations and patterns, and then they thrive on spreading the piece apart and comprehending how it all works together. And I found that such individuals create interpretations not by feeling or emotions, but more so by sensibleness and conception of what works and what sounds good. Does that make sense? So I think this method of thinking is cultivated by our great music teachers. I know we have some teachers in the room who teach us the ins and outs of theory and form analysis. So the theoretical approach. And then you have those of us who do remember when we first learned to play an instrument and you were just like ridiculously curious, and trial and error and failure provided us with many answers as we experimented with the unknown. And our many lessons, our practice regimen helped us to hopefully master rudiments one by one, till we got to the point where we could say we mastered our instrument. I'm not really sure what that means, but that's what we say. We master our instrument. And I remember my teenage years, my musical curiosity was like an all-time high. And my friends and I were sponges just trying to learn all about vocal jazz and harmony and arranging and classical music and anything we could put our hands on. And let me just put a kickstand right here. The teenagers in the room, the young people, please take this time and use it to learn as much as you can. Because I promise you, when life gets families and school, and you won't have that time back ever again. So cherish it now, cherish it now. As musicians, we have to find a way, and this is probably more for the teachers for 2 seconds. As musicians, as professionals, we have to find ways to tap into that childlike well of wanting to learn more. Because I think without this intentionality, we could fall in danger of becoming stagnant in our music making. And we find ourselves doing the same thing over and over and over and producing the same results. So I think that curiosity is crucial as it, what's that word? As it rouses our desire to learn more about what we are doing. And it reminds us, this is the humbling part, curiosity reminds us that no matter how experienced we are, we do not know in entirety all that we are doing. Yes, we may have mastered our instrument, but that mastery, I think, only outlines a path when it comes to ingenuity and acuity. So here's the important thing about curiosity that I think. Importantly, none of us, no musician sits solely in one of those three categories. At various junctures, we may have to draw on an intermingling of all three. So depending on the demand of the score, we may have to lean more heavily on one category than the other. So I would like to suggest today, I would like to posit today that ideally, all of us should try to employ all three facets. And as musicians, we should first acknowledge which facet or facets we tend to ignore, and then strive to incorporate that into our music making. So as you look at this music be the food of love today, think of that for yourself. Which one am I? And let me try to put some of what I ignore into my recording. So our efforts as singers and conductors and musicians in big picture should go beyond music making. I think this is crucial. We are second line workers. You know, the doctors are first line workers. My wife is a nurse, she's a first line worker. But I think we are second line workers, and part of our responsibility should be to have an insatiable curiosity about those coming to listen, about those that would listen to this recording. And I think in this context, it gives us an idea, a peek into the world view of other people. And I think seeking out, pay attention, this is crucial, seeking out the worldviews of other people can allow us, and I think will allow us as artists to be more in tune with the needs of our audiences. You just pause so that sinks in. So I think we need to challenge ourselves to have meaningful conversations with people outside of our circle. You know, when the pandemic started, I tell people this all the time. I've lived in this community for going on 4 years, and I met more people in my neighborhood in those first 2 months of the pandemic than I did in 3 years. Why? Because everyone was all of a sudden walking more, riding bikes or on the lake with their kayaks, and all of a sudden I was learning people's names and learning their kids' names and their dogs' names. And typically I wouldn't interact with those people like that because they're outside of my immediate circle. But it dawned on me, if I force myself, encourage myself to learn more about people outside my circle, then I become more in tune with the people who will be listening to my concerts, listening to my recordings, because now I have a bigger worldview. Does that all make sense? So I think we need to challenge ourselves to have those meaningful conversations with people outside of our circle. So C was to seek for curiosity, right? The E here is for empathy, and hopefully my next video plays. At the beginning of the pandemic, you know, I was just having some quiet time, and it occurred to me, and see if this fits for you as well. It occurred to me that some of the most monumental performances that I've been privileged to be a part of, most of them, if not all of them, occurred on the heels of an event that sought to bring the ensemble together. Has that been your experience? So I'll share this quick story with you. The year was 2018, 2019, that school year. And that was a school year where we sang for the ACDA that Sarah mentioned in that overrated bio. And at the beginning of that school year, we knew that we would be singing for the convention in late February, right? So the year started off with that. And we purposed ourselves to be intentional in the process and making sure we had every T in place and every I in place. And at the onset of every rehearsal, we have a, for lack of a better word, a centering moment. Everyone just keep quiet for 30 seconds and really try to focus about what we're trying to do here for the next hour and a half. In those moments, I try to have people embrace the silence. I feel like these things and the television, we are always like, you know, just be quiet for like 30 seconds, which is hard for some people. So, but throughout the course of the year, I noticed that my students were becoming very transparent with one another. What was going on at home? What was going on in their classroom? Going on in their dorms? And so it wasn't uncommon to see students either at the beginning of rehearsal and especially at the end of rehearsal, kind of lingering back, talking to one another. And they literally became one of the most close-knit choirs that I've ever conducted. So fast forward to February, to the American Choral Directors Association. Some of you perhaps were there, teachers, I don't know. We arrived in Kansas City, and I could sense now, because they didn't quite sense it for months, but I could sense now that they realized the magnitude of the occasion. Oakwood University, where I teach, is a small university. In a good year, we have 1,800 students. In a great year, we have 1,800 students. Some of your high schools are probably bigger than Oakwood, right? But it's always been a place with an abundance of talent. And we were very aware that we were the first, what do you call it, historically Black college and university to have gone through the audition process and to be chosen to perform. So, and we also knew, at least we were clinging on to the hope that we were not invited just on the merit of being able to sing Negro spirituals. Let that sink in for a while. All right, we were invited, we hoped, on our ability to sing all genres. So on February, I think it was 28th, we gathered in that green room, and I watched. I'm always observing. I watched the young people embrace each other and express to one another that the time had come. And I could hear someone saying, "Let's leave everything on that stage. Let's leave everything on the stage." So it was a real joy for me to watch the singers deliver with such ease. They were smiling on the songs that had emotion change. There were tears, and they really sang as a team. That choir, to me, didn't have amazing solo voices, but they were an amazing team. And they unselfishly shared with the audience the messages of the music. And my singers, I thought, cemented their journey with the accomplishment of getting to that point and just giving it all away, giving it all away. So as a result, they became even more closely knit. Now follow me, don't lose me, I'm going somewhere. All of their performances thereafter, after that ACDA performance, were effortless. I mean, we just get up and they could just do it. And they sang with extraordinary beauty and extraordinary vibrancy. And they were just on a roll, as we say. They never lost sight of purpose. And I thought they always presented the messages very, very, very clear. Now, here's where I'm going. So that was for February. So we did concerts in March, April. Here at Oakwood, we have our final examinations end, and then we have a free week before graduation. So the choir historically takes a tour during this free week. And for the 2 years prior, we would take a wonderful tour to San Francisco. San Francisco is a great place. We loved it. We knew exactly which hotel we were going to stay. They would put us up in this amazing hotel. We knew the weather would be awesome. We knew we'd have great activities. The concert schedule was easy. We'd just be kind of chilling, and we're looking forward to this trip. Follow me, I'm going somewhere. So we divided the group up into two. I was with the first group. Group two was our manager and my associate conductor one there. And my family and I, we were the first group, as I said, and we loaded our belongings, and we got to San Francisco, loaded the bus, and without incident, we made it to the hotel. And I vividly recall, follow me, I vividly recall saying to the driver, "See you when you get back," because he was just gonna turn around, go back to the airport and get group two. At about 2 a.m., my phone started to buzz. 2 a.m. We got to the hotel probably about 9 p.m. At 2 a.m., my phone was buzzing, and I realized then that I dozed off as I was waiting for the second group to get in. I saw the name of our manager light up on my phone, and I thought to myself, wow, they must have gotten delayed at their connection or something. So I answered the phone, and all I heard was this: "Bad, bad accident. We are on the side of the freeway." Now, all the teachers in this room, any conductor going on a tour, there are certain scenarios you try to prepare yourself for, but it hits you in a totally different way when it actually happens. I mean, we have so many plans for those scenarios, but in the moment, words like that could be very paralyzing, right? So I made my way down to the lobby, and it dawned on me then that our manager didn't have time enough to give me any details. So now my mind is racing, and I'm trying to conjecture what's happening. Did everyone make it out alive? Was anyone hurt? And then across the lobby, I can hear the hotel receptionist saying, "Wow, there's a bad accident on Highway 101." And I was sort of nervous. I couldn't even go over there to say, "No, I think those are my kids." I just sat there. By this time, other members of Group 1 who were already with me just started coming down to the lobby, and no one said a word. We just sat there in silence, sat there in complete silence. And the way it seemed like a lifetime. So after about 2 hours of just sitting there in the lobby, The 18 students, my associate conductor, and our manager arrived at the hotel, and they were visibly shaken. Clothes were torn, eyeglasses were missing, some were barefoot, some walked in with canes. And those of us who were in the hotel lobby just kind of ran to embrace them. Follow me, I'm going somewhere with this. And I repeatedly took a head count to ensure that everyone was there, repeatedly, over and over again. This is what happened. As a matter of fact, let me try this one more time and see if it'll let me share this screen. Hold on. Oh man, because if I keep talking about it, I start getting emotional. So let me.
Details on a deadly chain reaction crash in South San Francisco.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let's try this. Just one more time. All right, here we go.
Details on a deadly chain
Can you hear
reaction
that?
crash in South San Francisco that left a tour bus engulfed in flames. It started with a 3-car crash early this morning on northbound 101 near Sierra Point. The tour bus couldn't stop in time and crashed into those cars. Then another car slammed into the back of the bus. Now, this was the aftermath. The driver who hit the bus was killed, and the tour bus burst into flames. 2 other cars also caught fire. Everyone managed to get out of the bus before the blaze erupted. Fire crews rushed to the scene, but taming the flames proved to be a challenge.
Out here on the freeway, we don't have any active water supplies, no hydrants around, so we set up what we would call a water shuttle, where we had primary pumping engine suppressing the fire, and then we used multiple other fire resources, fire engines, to shuttle water back and forth to the hydrant and keep a constant flow of water.
Another driver sustained moderate to severe injuries. There were a few minor injuries among the 20 people on the bus.
And tonight we have learned they are members of a famous university choir from Alabama. The Aeolians of Oakwood University have won a number of awards on the world stage, and they are all right following the crash. In fact, they're going on with the show. KPX5's Andrea Nakano is live at San Francisco's Third Baptist Church, where the choir still plans to perform tomorrow. Andrea?
Yeah, Brian, luckily all the choir members are okay. After the impact, 18 singers and 2 staff members got off the bus safely before it was engulfed into flames. Despite this accident, the choir director says the show will go on as planned.
Shaken up, very much so, but, you know, thankful that we lost things and not lives.
The choir involved in this crash is from Oakwood University in Alabama. In 2017, they were ranked as the #1 choir in the world. They go out into communities filled with diversity to inspire and set an example for minority children. This will be the 2nd year in a row that they will perform at the Third Baptist Church in San Francisco. Reverend Amos Brown wasn't quite sure if the choir would be able to perform after the accident, but he was reassured that the choir wanted to heal by using their voices.
We are determined to sing anyhow. And that represents a group of young people and their director who know how to triumph over tragedy. And they're able to make beauty for ashes.
The members of the choir did lose all of their personal belongings, but they have been overwhelmed by the community's response. The San Francisco Police Officers Association was one of the first to deliver a generous donation so that these students could replace all of their personal items like clothing. And just this afternoon, they were at a tuxedo rental company. The bill all paid for, so they have the proper attire for tomorrow's performance. Live in San Francisco, Andrea Nakano, KPX 5.
Boy, what a frightening experience for them.
Man, no matter how many times I see that, I get emotional every time. So essentially what happened, I described to you, this choir members got there that night. The next morning we gathered, and I was telling the choir, look, every performance we were to do that a weekend, people understand that we've been in a bad accident and we don't have to go. And someone in the group said, let's sing anyway. And that's why that first line of the song gets me. If music be the food of love, sing on, sing on, sing on. So that the big concert that weekend, now, you know, so much empathy. That's what I'm talking about now. The E and C, or so much empathy was shown. We had one Oakwood alum take all the guys that lost their tuxedos to Men's Warehouse, and check this out. He bought for them black suit, white shirt, shoes, socks, and then on top of that, told them choose any other suit that you want. He spent about $10,000. Oh, I saw the bill, 9,000 plus plus plus. So much empathy. Some ladies took the ladies somewhere else and got their stuff. So here we are now at the concert, the big concert at the Third Baptist Church there in San Francisco. The place is packed. The media is all over the place. And right before we took the stage, I remember trying to make a speech to somehow calm the nerves. Because at this point, people are, you know, ribs are hurting, people in canes still. I'm pretty good at those motivational speeches, but this one I just got choked up and couldn't even finish because we were all so fragile. And collectively though, our strength was emotionally overwhelming. So with mismatched attire, because even though those guys got black suits, it didn't match what the rest of us had. With mismatched attire, with scratches, bruises, and even canes, we took the stage to a packed audience less than 48 hours after this tragic accident. And here's where I'm going with this. The text that we had sung so many times before. Remember I said to you, ACDA was a monumental performance and everything after that was easy. But the text on this night, it was just totally different. And rhythms, it occurred to me, rhythms in the music was more than just a group of patterns and notes. They were literally now the reflections of the pulse of life that we all still possessed. And as a conductor, I had very little to do that evening. I was just simply a guide, And in the moment, I tried to capture what it felt like and what it looked like, because those moments are priceless. And ingredients are not taught in our pedagogy classes or rehearsals. But I would like to suggest today, and young people, you can do this, that we, all of us, musicians, singers, conductors, all of us, can somehow foster this emotional bonding component into our music making. Simply put, empathy is the ability to feel what other people feel. And I think that we can garner special results if we could safely, I'm using that word, safely display our empathy. I'm not saying everybody needs to get all hyper emotional, but we need to safely display our empathy. And I think after we've exercised curiosity, this is where curiosity comes in, because if I don't speak to you and know how you feel, there's no way I could be empathetic towards you. I have to speak to you first. So curiosity has to happen before we can show empathy. And then lastly, the O, C-E, and I'm at the O. Because music consolidates humanity, that in itself is cause for optimism. And through our performances, to the recording you will do today, we can bring hope to so many people in need. And I truly believe that our audiences should be provoked, they should be challenged, and they should always leave with a sense of optimism. In 2018, we took a trip to South Africa, and we made time to go to the Nelson Mandela Museum and see where Nelson Mandela lived. And if you get a chance, there's a movie on Netflix. What's it called? Starts with an I forget the name. I just looked at it 2 weeks ago. Just pull up that movie on Netflix. Just put Nelson Mandela. And it just baffles me the level of optimism that he must have had. He was jailed for 27 years in solitary confinement. 27 years, not even counting the years before that he went through all this oppression and all this brutality. But what type of optimism did he have to be released from jail and then become the president of the same country that did all this stuff to him? I mean, that just kind of blows my mind. And I think our audiences, we should try to have them leave our concerts, leave listening to our recordings with a sense of, man, I could conquer the world. And no longer, Invictus, thank you, Nicholas, that's exactly it. No longer should we be, and this is crucial, don't miss this, no longer should we solely try to display our musical prowess. yes, let's master that in the rehearsal room. Yes, let's get your recording right today. Let's get a recording right. But let's couple that technical stuff with hope. Technical stuff with hope, because I think that combination can lead to, as my dad says, uncompromising societal transformation. My dad is a sociologist, so uncompromising societal transformation. So when we program music, when we sing music, when we share music, let us look for those moments that appeal to mind. I guess that will be the technical stuff we do sometimes, but let's not leave the heart untouched. So curiosity, empathy, optimism. And I would like to suggest again that we should always try to strive to increase the number of tools in our tool belts. And as we live through this life-altering experience called COVID-19, or this life-altering experience called police brutality and social injustice, and now this week we're running out of gas. I mean, it's just been so crazy, right? What lessons can we extrapolate from all of this? What lessons can we extrapolate? And as I close, I just want to challenge everyone on here as you go through the song today. If music be the food of love, sing on, sing, and think of that text perhaps in a different way. How can I use this text to share some hope with someone? How am I approaching the song? Am I looking at it from a theoretical point of view? Am I looking at it from an emotional point of view? Am I looking at it from a historical point of view? And somehow can I get all of those three facets into my recording? And I get it, the virtual choir thing is not ideal, but if you think it, the sentiments would get through the recording. So this is my chance. This is your chance. This is a chance for all of us to be CEOs, to employ curiosity, to employ empathy, and to employ optimism into our future, including the song you do later today, into our future recordings, into our future content presentations, and into our future programming. Because I think, like I said before, it would be a shame if we just went back to making music as we did prior to the pandemic. So hopefully that all makes sense. And you know what? I'm gonna try and play that first. You know what? Let's take some questions and that'll give me a chance to work out that first recording I was trying to play. But that's what I wanted to share with you today. And as you go into your sectionals with the other guests and as you make your recording today, just think about those things and hopefully that kind of appeal to your mind and heart a little bit, that you could come to this piece in a different way.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand.
You're so welcome.
If we have questions, you can go ahead and unmute. We are vocalists. We love hearing voices, or you can put it in the chat if you'd like as well. But especially our singers, do you have questions you'd like to ask of Dr. Ferdinand? Or teachers as well? Go ahead and jump right in.
Don't make them too hard, okay?
I think I saw a hand from Aaron.
After the crash on the bus, how hard was it for you and your choir to continue going, knowing that someone had lost their life?
So I could answer that in two ways. Initially, so that accident happened like wee hours of, like Friday night or Saturday morning, however you want to look at it. It wasn't until about noon or 1 p.m. the next day when we learned that the driver who hit the bus from behind died. We didn't know that. So the decision, when someone said, you know what, let's go ahead and commit to all the engagements we said we would do, at that point, we didn't know that. And I think even if we did know that, we probably would have gone on anyway, I think. And let me just share this too. I didn't have time to talk about this, but on our bus, the engine is in the back, right? The engine in the back of the bus. So he slammed straight into that engine, just went up in flames. We had a chance to meet his daughter. Who was at the time, I think she was 16. We got a chance to meet her. She came to our hotel and we got a chance to spend some time with her and her aunt. And that's the best I can say. We spent some time with her in our loss, and to this day we're still in contact with her. So it was difficult, but I think we made the best decision to move on and to try and bring some hope to ourselves because it was rough. And I think we inspired so many people in San Francisco, and San Francisco was great to us. Part of the story I didn't mention either. The mayor of San Francisco made arrangements with the Old Navy there, and the entire choir, not just the ones who were in the accident, the entire choir could go there and pick out whatever they wanted. Now, think about that with teenagers and young 20-year-olds. It was a mess. No, it was fine. But yeah, so no, it was a difficult decision, but I think it was the right one.
Thank you.
Good question, though. Thank you for asking, Aaron. Don't all rush now.
We've got one that popped up from Nicholas in the chat.
Okay.
So Nicholas asked, Nick, you're not shy. I've seen you in these other meetings. Do you want to ask your question so we can hear your wonderful voice?
What defining moment in your life made you realize you wanted to pursue? Oh, wow. I see your question. What defining moment in your life made you realize you wanted to pursue a career in music? Ooh, Nicholas, that's a whole other lecture I give, but let me, I'll give you the Cliff Note version. So as you probably hear by my accent, I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Trinidad and Tobago, by and large, has always followed the British schooling system, which I think has its pros and cons. But in that system, I think you are made to choose your life's trajectory a little younger. So now I was always doing music. I was in children's choir, piano lessons, trumpet lessons, playing always. My parents are not musical, but they just felt like their kids had to be involved in music. But the flip side to that, I was a science major. So for advanced levels, which is a British thing, I was doing biology, chemistry, physics, and on my way to med school. All right, so I was a scientist, but then there was one evening, I just kind of felt like my life's work was at stake, and I was too scared to tell my parents that I wanted to do music because in the Caribbean, no one does classical choral music. Like, what the heck is that? Like in the Caribbean, unless you're doing calypso or soca or reggae, like you know. So I wrote a letter and left it somewhere where my parents could find it because I was too scared to tell them. But they found it, they read it, and the next day, and luckily for me, my parents, I've always been the type to encourage their kids and what they wanted to pursue. So long story short, that's when I left Trinidad and I came to Oakwood University. And by that time, like I said, I was on my way to med school. So by the time I came to Oakwood, I was probably like a juniorish. So I spent 2 years at Oakwood finishing my undergrad. So it was kind of like that point where I decided I wanted to do music. Now, when I graduated my undergrad degree, I honestly, I had no intention of being a conductor. But through another kind of fortuitous story, I ended up at Morgan State University and did a master's in choral conducting. I think it was there that I realized, wow, being a conductor could be a thing. So that's when I started taking it kind of seriously, and here I am now. So, but good question. Good question.
Melinda, I think I see your hand. Melinda, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so when you're picking pieces for a concert or ensemble, what things do you most keenly look for or keep in mind?
That's a very comprehensive question. Who asked it again? The person didn't light up on my screen. I see it now, Melinda. That's a very comprehensive question. That the answer changes a lot depending on my frame of mind. One, you want to do things that the ensemble can do well. And when I make that statement too, sometimes I say, well, I know this choir doesn't do this well, so I'm gonna present to them anyway, so that at least they could build in that. Especially with my choirs, I'll say, you know what, they haven't done this. That's a good reason to throw it in. So I kind of go back and forth. You pick pieces that resonate with you and would resonate with the listeners. You pick pieces because you think the ensemble will be able to, I said sing it well, but it's deeper than that. Sing it well, present the message well, dig deep into their souls and really try to present the message. So that's why I keep making that point. It would be tragic to approach these kind of decisions the same way we did before. So Melinda, I don't know about you all, but I can't wait to see what people will be programming after this, because hopefully everyone is thinking of, you know, great stuff to present now to a world that needs us very, very badly. So Melinda, that could be an everlasting answer, but those are some of the things that I think about. Like, let me give you a case. If you look at that Aeolian ACDA performance, you know, a lot of people complimented us on the Bach. That was the first time my choir ever sang any Bach. And people don't believe me when I say it. I'm telling you the truth. But I picked that piece because I needed something to really, really challenge them. And my kids love challenges. They drive me nuts because you give them an easy song and they struggle sometimes. We put the hard stuff and they're like, well, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, what is that about? So that piece was to challenge them, and they just stepped up to it and hopefully delivered it, you know, a sense of great joy. So a lot of things go into that pot, but those are some of the things I could think of the top of my head. But thanks for that, Melinda.
I see Adam's hand. Adam, do you want to jump in?
Hi, yeah. Do you have any like advice? Like, what are your some of your greatest advice on improving as a musician?
Yeah. Listening. That's one. And not just listen to, you know, I don't know if you want to talk about choral music per se, but listen to multiple genres, because you'll find that genres can help feed into whatever you're doing at the time. For example, if I say, cool, 5 minutes. If you talk about the Bach, for me, and then I pass this on to students, for me that Bach felt so much like a jazz swing. Now, without that backbeat in your head, it'll just come out, which is a totally different vibe than. So if I didn't listen to a lot of jazz growing up in my teenage years, I will not have that correlation. So listen to a lot of genres that could help feed into whatever genre you're looking at the time. I think that's something we don't do enough of. I call it like a cross-fertilization of styles and genres. And you know, last night I was looking at the Marvin Gaye CNN special, and you know, Marvin Gaye was singing all this soul music, but you could hear some elements of church and elements of jazz. And it was like, you know, so listen to a lot of music, and what you listen to comes out in whatever you do without you realizing it. It will just come out. You know, like one of my favorite gospel singers and mentors, Richard Smallwood. You know, people know him as a gospel musician, but you listen to his music, there's so many classical elements in there. That's because he listened to a lot of, you know, he's a pianist. He grew up playing a lot of Rachmaninoff and all these things, and you hear it, it just comes out in his music without him even thinking about it, because it's just here. Yeah. So I think I want to play that thing I was trying to play at the beginning. I think it's queued up now. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers. And I'll leave that message with you because, again, you know, in spite of what you believe, I'm not trying to be religious or anything, but you know, we all have this hope that this thing is going to get better, and we have a crucial part to play as second line workers. So thank you all so much for having me. I'm going to end with this. Let's cross our fingers that it plays. All right, here we go. Can you hear that? Yep. We'll make it through, guys.
Thank you so much. Can we all give Dr. Ferdinand a round of applause or emojis or chat? Thank yous.
Thank you all so much.
Amazing way to start our day. Thank you so much.
Record well. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you. Singers, you have a couple minutes if you want a quick break. You're gonna join the tenor bass sectional. Again, everybody can join, but soprano altos, if you want to sneak in a snack or kind of have a lunch within that period, that would be good.